With us now, Mark McKinnon, former campaign media director for President George W. Bush. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Charlie.
So if you were advising a Republican nominee for in the presidential race, and he had this kind of gender gap beyond what you have heard, beyond the appeal on economic issues, what does the candidate do?
A few things, Charlie. First of all, it is a real concern. Republicans have won 2 out of those 3 states since 1960 in order to win the presidency, and they're not going to win Pennsylvania, so they've got to win Ohio and Florida. So they've got to close that gap. The problem is that there are some real primary bruises that Romney's suffering from a lot of discussion about defunding Planned Parenthood and contraception. Plus, the Republicans have a real brand problem. Voters, particularly women voters, see the Republican Party as not caring about their interests, and that the Democratic Party does more. So what Romney has to do is he has to start leading the Republican Party instead of being dragged by the Republican brand. But he's got an opportunity to do that at the convention and his convention speech, where he can talk about family issues, he can get his wife, get his family out there, talk about policy, and he can talk about empathy for families and talk about policies that really help them and help women.
You know, Mark, they say that he's close to selecting a vice presidential candidate. Would a woman help him at this point, do you think?
Yeah, you know, it would, but the problem is that the candidates that are on that list, Susana Martinez, Condi Rice, Kelly Ayotte, all of them bring something to the table, but they also have some deficit issues with experience on some social issues that would cause problems with the base. So I think it's unlikely that Romney's going to pick a woman because it would create some problems with some of the base voters that they want to keep on board.
Let me come back to this issue about Governor Romney and caring. How does a candidate communicate that he cares in a way that Governor Romney has not done so far?
Good question, Charlie. Well, you know, Mitt Romney, about 75% of voters have a pretty strong feeling about him, either positive or negative. The good news for him is that there's about 25% that really don't know him very well. And he's got an opportunity at the convention to talk about his biography, to talk about his vision. Right now, all he's done is talk about jobs, 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 and he's the fix-it guy from Massachusetts. But people don't have a deeper sense of kind of his family, context for his time as governor and a lot of the family-friendly things he did as governor, or to even talk about the policies that would help families as president. So they just haven't heard the story yet. So he's got upside potential to get a lot of those voters back.
On Texas, Gayle and I were talking about this morning, this victory that Mr. Cruz had in Texas. Does it further divide the Republican Party or not?
Not really. Ted Cruz is not a typical Tea Party candidate. I mean, he is a very thoughtful guy. He's very conservative.
Right.
But he is a very, very smart guy. Not to suggest that other Tea Party candidates aren't. But I think he's been cast as a sort of typical Tea Party guy,
right,
and he's not. And I think he's going to bring a lot to the table for conservatives.
Has a brilliant academic record at Princeton, was a great debater, clerk for Chief Justice Rehnquist. So here's a guy with all the right credentials on his resume. Yeah,
that's right. And I think that he can kind of create a different persona for many of the conservatives on the Tea Party side, and you know, kind of change a little bit of the branding of the Tea Party.
And can appeal to Hispanics.
One of the smartest guys I've ever.
One of the smartest guys you've ever met.
Absolutely.
And can really make an appeal to Hispanics.
Yeah, so he's going to be a very dynamic guy in the U.S. Senate, and he can do a lot for Republicans.
And Mark, before you go, I'm just curious about your new look with the tie. Is this a new trend you're starting?
No, this is a scarf. I'm on an anti-tie crusade.
Oh, I see. It's very dapper,
no
Mr.
labels,
McKinnon.
no ties.
Very dapper.
No labels and no ties.
Very dapper
Thank
today.
you.
Mark, thank you so much.